It's my pleasure to have Kim Jenkinson, who is the Executive Director for HMC Connections, HMC standing for Halton Multicultural Council. And they are, I'll let you hear from her what they're involved in, but it is so important.
I'd like to thank Angela for the nomination. I'm so honored to be here on your 10th anniversary tonight. Congratulations to all of you. And I just want to give a really short, they're always saying that to me, yeah. Speak up. I wanted to give a really quick shout out to the politicians in the room, particularly the women that are representing us in politics. We have really strong women representation here, and thank you so much for serving your community. So my name is Kim Jenkinson, and my pronouns are she and her, and I'm reading the instructions which said keep it simple. That's the instruction that was given to us. So, and the advice was to tell about your charity and then just tell a story. So that's what I'm going to try and do tonight. HMC Connections, that's our branding name. Our actual name, as Angela said, is Halton Multicultural Council. So we are a settlement agency. Oh, it works better if I come closer. So we're a settlement agency serving the region of Halton. Settlement is when newcomers come to Canada and they need help with settling into our communities. The language may be unfamiliar, they may need help with employment, they may be help with connection to government or community agencies. So that's what we do. We're sort of a referral source into those different services. We also provide employment supports, language, and crisis supports, as well as the basic settlement supports. So we're funded by the federal government to do most of that work, also by the provincial, regional, and municipal governments to welcome people and help them settle into our neighborhoods. Our mission statement is it's two-part. We have a two-part mission statement, which is to help newcomers settle and integrate into our communities. The second part of our mission is to make the community welcoming and inclusive. So we do that through community events. You'll see us all over the place. All these charities that you've donated to, we're connected with in one way or another because we're helping people connect into our community. So what I'm asking for tonight is donations to our refugee funds. So we're well funded for settlement. Those things are great, but there's so many chances where people fall through the cracks. So what a refugee is, there's a bunch of ways refugees will come into Canada, and more often than not, it's not their choice to come here. There's some circumstance that's driven them out of where they are, and they're forced to come. So I've been with HMC for 11 years, almost 12. There's always been refugee populations coming into Canada. But the first sort of big group of people that came was the Syrians, many of whom actually settled in Burlington eventually. So it was the regional government gave us money at that time to help get people housed, get people settled, move into the region, and a lot of the church groups came involved. A lot of people brought refugee families over. So we were there just to help make sure they understood the rules of living and working and being in Canada, as well as help with employment and language and all of those other things that are needed. So that's generally basically what we do. So I wanted to tell you a story. So there's the Syrians, then there's been the Ukrainians. We also have been supporting the Ukrainians. Again, the regional government came together and gave us funds to help support the Ukrainians to get them into housing, start them learning language, and start to get them working. So we've served, I think, 75 families, Ukrainian families, since March 2022. So we're very proud of our relationship with all levels of government and their trust in us. Thank you. So one of the stories I wanted to tell just shows what we use the refugee fund for. So one of the women that came, I was a family came, and the family had come from a war-torn country, so they were sponsored to come, and we became involved with this family. And the woman the whole family spoke no English. So the woman managed to get a volunteer position at a local daycare, and she worked at that local daycare. So when she came, she was pregnant, and within a couple of weeks of being here, she gave birth to twins. So she she had two young children plus the twins, and she was working through her busy family. She had a husband, and he's really unable to work, very traumatized, lots of trauma in the family. So it was a difficult situation. She had to get out of the house and start earning income. So the first thing she did was went out and volunteered, and she was a very smart woman, and she was able to pick up language very quickly. So she was volunteering in the daycare, and a position as cook came up, an assistant cook, and she took that position as assistant cook. And even to this day, she's working in that daycare full-time as a cook. So she's done very well. Unfortunately, with all the stresses around refugee families, you can imagine, you don't have any family connections here. You're struggling to learn the language, you're struggling to understand the culture. There's so many difficult things you're dealing with. So it means that sometimes families break up, and this family broke up. So the woman was alone with the 4 kids, and we've got 1 minute left, so no pressure. The woman's alone with 4 kids, and so she needed some help, groceries, basic clothing, that kind of thing. That's what we use the refugee fund for. So it's to help those families that have come to a position where they're in crisis, and this can help them with newcomer families or refugee families. Most of our fund's been dedicated to refugee families, but we're seeing more and more families now that are dropping into crisis. So that's a lot of the reason why we know a lot of the charities personally, like Compassion Society, that help all of our community with food, not shelter so much. Shelter is an increasingly important piece that we're struggling with. We're really struggling to bring new people in. So we're happy to hear about that $25 million that Burlington got to support that, and happy to jump in and help however we may. So that's the end of my presentation. There's a big need, like someone said earlier, there's a big need, and it feels like there's no way to fill this bucket, but it is really meaningful when you can help somebody choose their groceries, get that winter clothing, just get that school backpack or whatever is really needed so that they can continue to function. Thank you so much.